Well, all the guys that did all the work are like they're the ones down below in the stream there. You see them? So that's those are the guys. My name is Jace Hall. What did I do? I didn't take out the garbage. Goble will tell you that. But I tried. I definitely didn't take out the garbage. I promise you.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. Toby Gladwell. I'm originally from the UK, and I'm actually out in London right now. Gosh, it's been so long. Met this lot like back in '93, '94, I guess. And I don't think I ever took out the trash either. So let's move along.
No, it's just to let you in. Like there was a time Goble and I were roommates, and I just never even thought to take out the trash. And just one day, he just had enough. And it actually came out not while we were there, but we were actually in a work environment talking about something else. And he I was trying to win on some point, and he just brought that up. He goes, "You don't even take out the trash." I was like, "Oh man!" And then he won.
I was going to say, sound like a desperate attempt to win an argument, but I'll take the win. Those are hard to come by with Jason.
He got the win.
All right, not sure what to say. I was there doing all kinds of things. Jason's very modest. He was like the super motivational force there. That was a lot of fun to work with. Jason and I had a lot of fun. Bryan Bouwman, I don't know. I did all kinds of weird crap. I don't know if I ever took the garbage out though.
No, but he Bryan Bouwman was the rock, man. Like he's so solid. Like it made you feel like we're out there doing, trying to adventure and be entrepreneurs. But the way Bryan just feels as a person, it's like as long as he's there, it feels like you're safe. It's hard to describe, but there's just this felt like if Bryan was there and he's handling, the bank account and all these, it just everything is fine. So he did so he underspeaks, but man, he was a big reason why I felt comfortable getting out there and trying to promise the world.
Gives good hugs too.
Yeah, we had a lot of adventures. Some of them we can't really go into.
Yeah.
All right, everybody can hear me okay? I'm Garret Price. I was game designer on a handful of games, art director on a handful of games, and ran the art department for the first few years.
That's it? That's all you're saying?
What else do you want me to say?
Okay, well, so first of all, Garret looks almost exactly the way he's looked like when I met him. I don't know what kind of time machine he's been in, but
it's clean living. That's what it is.
It's something. And then, but when you go back to the formation of Monolith, even before it started, we all worked together at another company called Edmark, and Garret was, always doing this art that looked like Marvel Comics and stuff. He had characters that he created, and he had stories that he always wanted to tell. So I would always go and talk to Garret, and he would talk about one of his characters called Captain Claw. And it was just very inspirational to talk with him, just because we were making educational children's software, which was great, but it wasn't overly challenging from a creativity standpoint.
Right.
And so we would spend a lot of time together as a group, a bunch of us, just sort of having fun, playing video games, and Garret already had developed story ideas and character ideas for the art pieces that he had created. So I remember that making a huge impression on me, and just me wanting to just hang out with him because he was the cool artist.
No, that's true. They were all sort of ideas that I didn't have any idea would ever become video games, right? It was always like, oh, this could be a comic book or a cartoon or a book or something else And it was kind of wild to meet all these guys and be like, oh, this applies to maybe games too, which was kind of a sort of a big deal. Yeah.
That is a big deal. Also, I have to say, we've had Claw was one of the games we featured. Are you saying like you were sort of the progenitor of that particular concept?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hope that there's the Claw fans in the chat today because we did. That's a very avid, dedicated following to this day.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a following there that loves Captain Claw. I mean, Cat Pirates, right? That was sort of I came up with some of that in art school, and then we as a team all fleshed it out into a full game. But it's definitely unique, and there are definitely some fans out there.
That is still absolutely. And the Cocker Spaniards,
Cocker Spaniards,
so good. All right, and so Bryan, how about we come over to you?
Yeah. Hey, it's great to be here for Monolith's 25th anniversary. I can't believe it's been that long. I guess the gray beard kind of shows how old we're getting. Yeah, so I ran the engineering department, helped build it with Toby and Bryan. I worked on the engine that powered Monolith's 2D games. Just did I just remember a lot of coding, just having a blast with these guys. As Jason kind of alluded to, like Garret and I met at Edmark making children's educational software, and he had the Cat Pirate universe. And I just always wanted to make the most killer 2D side scroller. And, once we met, it was on when those ideas just started, overflowing. And then, when the rest of us got together, it just happened, we just made it happen. We didn't even really have a full plan. We just started sprinting ahead on that project. It was awesome.
That is super cool. I didn't realize Claw was such a formative part of Monolith and all of the, I'm trying to be a historian of Monolith as much, but like that's information that just isn't out there at all.
Oh,
yeah, it was a big deal. Everybody worked on it. I mean, it was huge for us.
Yeah, I can give you a couple of stories that I know that aren't out there as it relates to Claw. Like, so first thing is you kind of go back to before Monolith got any of its like first deals, and basically I had left our place of work where we all worked to try to go find our deal, and all the boys were supporting me. And so they're spending all this money. And it's not like anybody was rich or anything. It's not like,
yeah.
I'm Goble's roommate. So, he's paying rent, he's doing all this stuff. And
I took out the garbage. I am the one who took out the garbage.
and so get this. So, we're like in our early 20s, right? We're in our 20s. So, 20-year-olds, there's gonna be some flim-flammery. I'm going to flim-flam around. And so I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. I've had time to reflect on these things, right? So I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but like these guys are like paying for me to eat, for me to have rent. Goble's paying the whole rent and all this other stuff. And I wasn't spending every second of every day trying to get those deals. I went to the arcade, I'd play some video games, I'd do, we playing stuff. And, we would have these meetings and, at one point I just got like the eye from the guy. Like everyone's just like, do something. We gotta do something. And from my perspective, it was always a foregone conclusion that our first project that we would make game-wise would be Claw, because from a game design standpoint, it was by far the most thought-through character set that we had, other than there was a program which still to this day exists that Goble had made called Microman. And Microman was this shareware program that he had made, and he had built a Windows engine so that he could do this sort of 2D tile-based stuff. And one of the things Gobes really wanted to do was like take his engine to the next level. Like, right, I think it was called WAP, right, or something, Windows Animated Package.
Yeah, you got it.
And so it made natural sense because he'd want to do a 2D side scroller, and Claw was this thing, and we were coming up on eventually the big launch of Windows 95, and there was a side scroller called Pitfall that had come out from Activision. There's all these sort of pieces forming. So in any case, as we went and got our first deals, which actually were contract work to work for Microsoft, and we tried to save our money to do that, I never really felt like there was never a time where we weren't going to make Claw, just because it was in so much alignment with what Gobes wanted to do. Gobes, you know, he won't say this, but that guy works like a lot. Like like he just would be just coding and coding all the time. So I think it was pretty much a foregone conclusion. And so when we finally got a deal for Claw and started heading out, it was really interesting to watch the struggle we had of how it should look in the game, because Garrett's art was very, like, I don't know, Disney-esque, like drawn very, you know, big, and you needed to now turn it into a tile-based system. And we went through this whole thing with Claws running. Do you guys remember this?
Yes, very clearly.
Look right, and eventually Jeff Kamer wound up like polishing Claw to look like a rounded, like I don't know how to describe it, but there was a whole thing.
Yeah, it was more hand painted instead of cell painted. It was either he or Israel had done that. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot went into not only the formation of Monolith's culture and everything in that moment, but how Claw was sort of interwoven as one of the catalysts that drove a lot of decisions, and it's really an interesting mix of all of the stuff we were bringing to the table, because you had right all the network, all this stuff. It's really, you know, and the thing is, the whole time here, remember, Bryan Bouwman was effectively the chief operating officer and president of our circus, right? So he's trying to actually. I always got the sense from him, I don't know how true it was, but I always felt like he was actually always thinking business-y. Like, okay, well, we better make sure that, you know, we look at the lease and, we, you know, whereas remember when we looked for the office space? Remember that?
Actually, yeah.
Can I jump in? Because that's actually the start of like some questions I actually have for you guys. Even just this is crazy to me. So 1994, right? That's a crazy time in the tech scene in the Northwest. Things were going off, of course. But this was before there was the App Store. This was before you had Steam. This was before there were really any reliable marketplaces to do this. What inspired you guys to actually quit your day jobs and start a video game studio? I mean, that was free climbing back then. How did you do it? Or why did you do it? How?
Yeah, I remember when we all just, you know, as Jason said, we were all working at Edmark, making children's educational software, high quality stuff. You know, it was fun. We did good work, but we were always getting together on our breaks and just chatting about doing something cooler in games. And just like, I just remember this energy and this passion just built up, and we didn't even know exactly what we were going to do, but it was so clear that we were going to do something. And we just kept talking through ideas. And then it moved into like working on demos, and just the energy just built. That's when, like, at first it was just like the engineers, because we were off in one section of the building. So we were always talking. And they were like, well, we need some art. And Jason's like, well, I've been talking, you know, like this artist over there, Garret, he's got this cool stuff. Let's talk to him and see if he's interested. And it kind of came the secret underground thing.
That is true. That was
at Edmark, yeah, right. Until it boiled over and was not so secret. That's a separate story. But we didn't, at first, we didn't even know exactly what we were going to make, but it was so clear. We just became like this team, and we were just figuring out what we were going to make. And then it just evolved to, as Jason said, like, you know, he left and started looking for the deal. We put together a demo CD. And then we got our first gig with Microsoft, and just dove in head first, not really fully knowing, like Jason said, it was a circus. I don't think any of us really knew we were going to be like running the circus.
What did you develop on? Because it's not like you could just grab a Unity license back then and call it good. Like, what were you doing?
No. We were building, I mean, just, I guess, to take a step back to Edmark, one of the things that sort of we all gelled around too was like Doom and Doom 2 had come out. So for us, that was just like, it was an incredible time getting on the line and just playing. So it was like 3D, DirectX, you know, had literally just birthed over at Microsoft. It was like the doors opening of all this technology, and 3D was just right, you know, right there on the horizon. And it was, you know, it was so exciting, super exciting time.
Yeah, and there was nothing on Windows yet. Like gaming on Windows wasn't really a thing.
Yes. So
right?
It's kind of a cool timing thing, right? At that point.
Yeah. So so you have these things where
Yeah.
All the shit that you take for granted today, right? It just wasn't there, right? And then you look at us in all our component pieces. Doom comes out and it's doing something amazing on the screen. And Toby is a little genius. And he looks at it, he goes, oh, I could do something like that. I know how they're doing that. Like, because, you know, that's where you get into the way that I forget the name of it, the stretching of the ray
casting.
Yeah, the ray casting stuff.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, you can.
Ray casting, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. And meanwhile, at the time, Bryan Bouwman was very much into network technologies, building a network game, a game where you could play against other people. He had been working on a game himself. I don't know if at the time had you called it Asteroid Miner at that time or but
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was so, and we knew from just playing on the LAN with Doom all the time, like that networking was going to be real important. So you have all these pieces, you have all these, and then Windows didn't really have games, and Goble had dived real hard into this first technology that came out called WinG, which allowed you to do a little bit faster blitz to the screen in Windows 3.1. And so I was like, we could be like the Windows game group, like we could lead that edge and sort of be that. We've got all the people, we've got artists, we've got all these things. Let's try to do that. And you know, and so as Goble was saying, we kind of formed like a little group inside of this company. Eventually that kind of bubbles up and becomes a problem on some level. And then of course, we start leaving individually, not like as a group, to try to not show we're a group. We're just kind of one-on-one. And
like a dine and dash kind of.
Yeah, I left. Toby's exit was the classic. It was
good.
Dude,
it was terrible. It was the worst. Well, it was the worst. It was the absolute worst way to leave. I figured out how to send like a time delayed email saying I was out of there, and fired that email and took off.
Zero confrontation.
It was terrible. It was an absolutely terrible move. But it was Jason that made me do it.
There you go.
All I remember is that Toby sent the email,
it was you, totally,
and left. Because his office was like super close to the head of development. Like if he would have sent an email, hey, I'm resigning, because it's kind of coming out of the blue to them, right?
Yeah, he'd have met him in the hallway.
Yeah, she would have got up and just came over in his office. Toby, what's going on?
Yeah.
That is incredible. By the way, I want to say to chat, I saw a couple people asking. Yes, we will take some questions from chat for sure, because of course you've got fans. People want to talk to you about some stuff. So I'm looking at chat. If you guys have some very specific questions, go ahead and shoot those on chat, and we'll try to pick some towards the end of the segment here. But moving forward, I just want to say, so was that?
Oh. I haven't actually introduced myself at all.
That was such a big, that's right. You were doing such a big riff. Kevin, please.
So I'm not one of the founders. That was the key part. I feel like I'm sitting here as a poser because these guys and Jason and Toby are the ones that, founded Monolith and got me here. So I'm the current studio head at Monolith. Goble actually hired me in January 1997. And, one thing that just dawned on me, I haven't really ever said to you guys is thank you. Because of you, I met my wife. Because I grew up in Colorado. I would have never come out here if Goble hadn't convinced me. And I have 2 beautiful children because of you. So thank you. But I'm just going to be quiet now and let the founders talk.
No, wait, Kevin, I never got my dry cleaning back.
I used to work at a dry cleaners a long time ago.
Wait, what? So was that your day job that you quit to join Monolith? No.
Not exactly, but close enough.
All right. Well, so I did want to actually get into something you guys started talking about. Like, aside from saying goodbye to your day jobs, what was the biggest challenge starting out? I mean, obviously, Jace, you're out there. You're trying to hustle a gig. You guys are trying to make things work with the, I'm sure, funding and just getting, was it Claw off the ground? So what was your biggest challenge personally? Actually, just do a round robin on that.
Well, you guys made me start thinking about, well, so remember when Toby left, he did this email thing and we were like, oh God, that's like the worst way anyone could ever leave. But Bryan and I were like more conservative. But my first kid had just been born, and I was like, Jesus, I'm going to go off and do
Bo
this
had
thing.
more
And
news.
it was scary. It was stressful. And Bryan and I were like looking at each other, and he's like the most conservative of all of us, right? And I'll do it if you'll do it. And he's like, okay, I'll do it if you know, it was like, and then we went in and like, we actually looked really good because we went in and we're all mature about it, you know, and talked to the people that we worked for there and left on pretty good terms, actually.
They were the adults.
I remember when after we did leave, my I was like, oh, what are my parents are gonna think or whatever, and I told my mom, and then she sent me this card, and I opened it, and it just had 2 words. It just said "Go Monolith" with an exclamation point, and it was just like that.
That's awesome.
That just gave me that adrenaline shot to just go forward and make it happen. It was awesome.
That is really cool.
You need the Monolith scream right there.
I'm interested in
Real time, Toby, do it.
Monolith.
Awesome.
I think I just woke
That's
up.
awesome.
I woke up my neighbors upstairs and downstairs.
Worth it.
I'm interested. I was interested in hearing your guys' answers to this question because looking back, I mean, I had no perception of how like Goble or Bouwman or anyone viewed the risk of going to do this. They were a little older than me and more responsible in their headspace than I was. In my mind, it was like, well, we're just doing this and this is going to be successful and we're just going and off we go. Like there was never in my mind a thought like it won't work. Like that didn't even exist in my head. Like I couldn't, and so it was hard. I remember thinking back, it would have been impossible for me to process. I remember when those guys, because those guys were the last ones to leave and they did it properly and they evaluated the situation and made their decision. I remember when it was first decided that someone needed to leave Edmark to go and try to see if we can get a deal. We were at Bryan Bouwman's Christmas party or house or something. I can't remember. We were over at Bouwman's house, and we were talking about, well, we want to do this, but someone's got to leave and try to go do it. And I think it was Brian's wife that said Jay should do it. And I go, okay. As like there wasn't even a shred of no, I won't do it. I was like, especially because the Bryans said that they would help pay my rent because I was rooming with Goble. I was like, well, okay, well, they're gonna help pay the rent. I'm off to do it. It's a foregone conclusion. Looking back, that was insane. In fact, what we did collectively was when you look back, you go, how did you guys even just decide to do it? It wasn't like we had some business plan or some lined up investment or anyone had any experience at all in doing any of it whatsoever. It was just like, well, we know how to do our trades, where we all like hanging out with each other, and we want to make video games, and damn it, go out there. And my attitude definitely bred an attitude on their part where they expected me to get these things done. Like, so when things weren't getting done, they're just like, well, hurry up, man. Like, it's hard to describe it in my head. It's like there was never a question whether or not we were going to be able to do it. And I never felt, looking back, I know now how much heavier it would have been, say, on Bouwman, who did just have a kid, like how that felt looking back. So I gotta, I want to be on record here is mentally, those guys took a much bigger risk than I did because they were more aware of the environment. It's easier to walk into a burning building if you don't know it's on fire. Right?
That's interesting you say that, Jace.
Choosing to walk in on that thing. So, so I, looking back, I'm like supremely appreciative of their choice to go for it because I also know, as out there as I was in terms of it's got to be, their sensation of security, like what they represented to me, just like as a feeling vibe, just made me feel like it's like a recursive thing. Like I was out there believing everything could happen because they were there making me feel like, well, they're there. So of course it means everything's gonna happen because they're there.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was going to say, Bryan, the best time to do a startup is right after having a baby. I can only imagine.
Plenty of free time, no stress.
When I think back on it, like, we had this just perfect mix of people with skills, and none of us could have done it on our own. You know, I always wanted to start a company, but without Jason, like, pushing us and doing.
Your audio cutting out?
Yeah,
I checked to make sure our audio is working really good, Bryan. If you're on mute or not on mute.
I'm off now. I remember Jason, the situation you're just talking about when you decided to leave first. And I remember when we had a conversation in the Edmark sound booth, and you were like, I don't remember the Christmas party one, but I remember you saying like, someone needs to leave first. And I was like, oh, who's he want it to be, me or Bryan? And he's like, and it should be me. You know, you were saying it should be you. And I was like kind of shocked because you were in like a super, you know, you were the most established in your career at Edmark at that time, you know, where you were. And then when you said that, I was like, because we were kind of on the fence. We didn't know what exactly to do to take the next step. And when you said that, it just kind of, I just knew then it was all going to work out because you had agreed to take the first step. And that's what we needed. Someone to take that first step into the scary part of the swimming pool, you know, into the deep end. And yeah, as you knew, like we didn't really know what we were doing, but once that happened, I knew like it was going to happen. Like I didn't really look back and like, so really actually that was a big, you know, thinking about it now, reflecting on it, that was a huge deal. And that took a lot of guts, you know, thank you for doing that. Right. Cause I know that was scary.
I want to stick with Bouwman's wife. I think it was incepted by Bouwman's wife into Jason's head. And then it just kind of sat there. And then he was like, oh yeah, I should do this.
Well, like what's interesting to hear Gobe say there is when I was telling him, because I remember that sound booth conversation, when I was telling him that, I didn't think I was taking any risks at all. It wasn't. So he's hearing, oh shit, he's willing to do this shit. I'm thinking, well, this is a foregone conclusion. I didn't even know what I was doing, basically. And so, but then him seeing me do that made him feel, oh, okay, we're going to be okay. It fed off of each other. And I think that's what ultimately drove us to be able to, you know, beat the statistical odds, which if you know Monolith history, we beat the odds several times after that, you know, through a number of business situations and learning that we just made all kinds of crazy business decisions as we learned. We were learning as we were going.
Right. I would like you to be able to pass that knowledge along, Jace, in fact, because I see like just first off, quitting your day job, somebody's got to go first. It's kind of like a day job murder-suicide pact in a way, if you think of it. It's like somebody's got to be the first one. But so nowadays, we have a lot more people that are starting up studios because obviously now you don't have to free climb. You can do the Unity, you can do all the different marketplaces. But still, what advice would you give to people starting out today, starting a studio?
I mean, I'll let the boys answer that first. I think their answers will be a little more meaty than mine.
I think nowadays it's so easy to get into creating, you know, games and software that you really then have to think like, well, what am I going to make that's not already out there? Like, what am I going to do? What's my hook? What's special? What am I going to do to grab attention, to monetize, to retain users, right? It's much more mature now. And there's a whole science side of doing software, which, you know, can start to overshadow the whole creative component of it. You know, you don't want to forget that you still need that. You still need to make something that's fun to play, fun to look at, fun to come back to. I think you gotta experiment. I mean, even that's really what we did. We made a bunch, you know, we made this demo CD with a bunch of different little demos and tech, and we reused components of those once we got into making, you know, our first round of games. I think the big thing is you gotta just start doing something, you know, pick a path and go down it. And it's okay if that's not the final path, if you got to change course or even like back up and do something else. Just keep iterating, keep learning, and see what works, but and the flip side is you also got to know when, like, okay, this path is leading to a dead end. I need to get on a different path. That's because that'll kill you if you just go all the way and down to the abyss and you can't get out. So
I think additionally with what you were saying about sort of knowing what you want to make, I think there's also a little bit of that branding element, sort of what do you want to represent in the space, or what do you want to be known for with the, having so many other studios out there that I think you have to be cognizant of that. Maybe you experiment to get there, but you have an idea of what you want to make, and then that sort of becomes your flag.
Yeah, like we want to be the anime cat
totally
pirates.
agree.
Nailed it.
Shadow of War and Tron, AVP2. Sorry.
But that is
the only piece of advice I would the only piece of advice I would give, I think, outside of what everybody said, because there's so much truth to it, is, and I tell people now, it's just to go and watch The Deadliest Catch. It's about fishermen in the Bering Sea trying to catch crab, and it is like the closest analogy that I've found, I think, to the games industry. Like, you're searching for something, you're trying to build something incredible, and it's this mad journey, and you've got to make sure that the people around you are going to go on that journey with you, and not just those people either. It's their spouse, partners, their kids, everyone. So I think first and foremost, it's about the people. To have that direction, you've got to have that vision that you work towards, and like Garret was saying, like the branding, I think is huge. But at the end of the day, that those tough times come up, and you got to get through them together. And if you do, when you do get through, you come out on the other side, and you've grown, you've learned. I think that's the path to repeatable success. So stick with it.
And there's emotional rewards along the way, of course. For instance, what was your fondest memories of those early days, even desperate times, though they may have been at times? What were your fondest memories?
Oh, mine go back to there's two different things. One is when we very first started, I just remember all of us just playing Doom all the time, and just it was the most fun that you could ever have, and it kind of I don't even know if we would have bonded the way we did if that game didn't exist. It may be that was formative, necessary for us to get going. But then beyond that, when we were actually working super hard and getting the first games out, and my fondest memories are just working really late and going to Dick's and bringing back 1 million Dick's Deluxes, and
that's a local hamburger chain, by the way.
Yeah, and watching Jay Wilson eat way more of them than any human should, and it was a lot of fun. It was hard and it was a lot of work, but it was also just a great thing to be part of.
Kind of like a frat house.
Yeah. See, so this question you asked and the one before kind of merged together for me, which is, the advice I'd give to someone who's going to get into it is love it. And it can't be just a job or just a way to make money for you. You have to love what you're about to go do and have a passion and dream for whatever that vision is, and just go for it. And I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by guys who also had dreams and visions in the space. All of our dreams kind of worked together. We all became good friends. We would eat together, play together, work together. It was just I haven't had a chance to actually talk to all of these guys at the same time. Shit. How many? I mean, probably since 2000, right? Something like that. It's been all of this at the same time. This is probably the first time that's even happened. And what's interesting, when I hear their voices talking, there's a home vibe, because I was born in the mush of what we all did together there. Obviously, we've all gone to go do things, but it's we all were in the womb together. And it's what, as Bouwman said, you know, he would go to Dick's and bring back all those burgers, and like it's all merged into this one work, birth, fun creation, exploratory passion. Going to Monolith to work wasn't going to work. It was just going to another place where everyone's at and what's going on. And so it made the challenges that you would meet, whether they were economic or whatever, have far less edge because you were enjoying the process of what you were doing. And even as horrible, I mean, there were horrible things that had taken, like, you know, we got money and hired a bunch of people and realized, whoa, my God, we've overhired, you know, but you don't know that at the time. And then you have to go through that process, and it's just, that's painful. But at the same time, you know, we all were, look, you know, I always like the fact that we're in the games business, which means we're basically not trying to benefit off of people's problems. You know, it's like, oh, you're being sued here. I'm a lawyer. Let me benefit off that. But we're making stuff to try to entertain people and enrich them and you know, give them an opportunity to play. So I always like that. And so, you know, working on that stuff with these guys, you'd think, I don't ever really recall. I mean, we might get on each other's nerves, but I don't ever really recall like any kind of enormous, you know, discord blowout that ever took place. And, you know, you have some distinct personalities in the group. It was such a wonderful time and a wonderful memory. And the fact that this company still exists and you're there doing history on it and it's created jobs and games and employed all these people is crazy. Because I think back to when we launched Monolith kind of officially, we went there next to the office park that we rented our office space in. There was a Denny's, and we all went to Denny's, and it was late at night, and we were sitting around a table, and we all like put our glasses up and stood together and put it in. I don't know if you guys remember this, but and we said, all right, this is the launch. We're gonna do this. Off we go. And we like all hit our glasses, and then we sat down, and I remember thinking to myself, years from now, you know, where will we be? What will it look like? You know, that kind of thing. It was pretty tremendous. So the point of what I'm saying is, if you have a passion to be involved in game making of some kind, it doesn't matter if you're like a designer or you want to engineer or you want to do the art. It doesn't matter. The industry offers opportunities for almost any kind of skill set. Just make sure that you feel really deeply passionate about it, because money aside, the reward is all of the memories, all of the experience you have in you know, going through the process. That's your life, the day-to-day journey, not where you end up, because wherever you end up, you're just going to set another set of goals anyway and just keep going. So, you know, I love these guys. It's great.
That's super beautiful. It's hard to know how to follow up on that, but I do want to say, because Jace, you talked about that, being able to pick a game that's something you're passionate about. What was, of all the games that you guys have worked on, what was your personal favorite game that you worked on, each of you?
At Monolith, please.
At Monolith?
It's got to be Monolith, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you can do another anniversary stream. That's fine. But no.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy for me. I mean, it's just hands down Claw. I mean, there's just no doubt. I know none of you guys are surprised, but right, we made one of the most awesome side scrollers. All that art, you know, Garrett's, you know, comic book vision came to life. We had 25 minutes of Disney style cutscenes, right? Everything, all the audio and the music tracks. I mean, we just went over the top. And, you know, of course, that project took 3-4 times as long and, you know, 4 times as much money as we thought it was going to take. And the team got so big, right? We didn't know what we were doing and how to manage a project that big, but we figured it out. We just nothing would stop us. You know, any problems, you know, we just kept plowing through.
Not even the installer.
Not even the installer.
Best menus of any game ever.
That's right. Yeah, it did have the best menu system. It had an awesome engineer working on that. So that's definitely, you know, that's by far my favorite. You know, I just remember designing with Garret. You know, we just sat down. Let's sketch out let's storybook the cutscenes, right? And we found this group down in, you know, 3 hours away to make it, and magically the amount they charged was exactly the amount we had. I don't know how that got figured out somehow. You know, we weren't the best negotiators maybe at that time.
Fate.
Yeah. So definitely Claw for me.
So I mean, probably no surprise, Claw's also number one for me. I mean, it was a magical time. I think partly too, not just like, hey, I'd come up with some of these characters and then just everyone sort of contributing to it, other artists coming up with characters in the universe, and the universe just growing. I mean, that was magical, but also this was where Monolith was just getting going. So it's like, oh, we're hiring our first people and we're writing the technology. And then, yeah, like the cutscenes. I think it was Jason who had told us at one point when we were trying to figure out how we were going to do these cutscenes. He was like, dude, we should just find a studio that can just hand animate this. And I was like, oh, yeah, that would probably be pretty cool. And then we just happened to find one that was like down in Portland. So it was an awesome time. That's definitely my favorite.
Bryan?
Well, as far as like working on shipping games, I mean, the late night working that I always loved and, you know, it was part of, and I remember like Kevin, like when we were working on like Show Go and No One Lives Forever, I mean, that was just to me, like, those are kind of the memories that stand out to me. And then the other thing I was thinking about is playing games. Like I loved playing No One Lives Forever, but the number one game that like we just played the death out of was Blood, was the first game we put out. And we just like all just, I mean, that was just basically like, oh, now that we've made something that's even better than Doom, you know, like it was just, and it was funny, and it was just an awesome game.
Blood still has a very powerful legacy in the industry. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but that's, still a huge following.
Yes, I know that for sure. I would say for me, I don't really have one. There's just really good memories for different reasons. You know, obviously Claw is like, you know, a birthright at Monolith. One person who should probably get mentioned for Claw is this guy named Kevin Lambert. Wasn't it Lambert who worked on some of the levels? And
oh yeah, no, he totally did.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring up Lambert is because the game is hard. Like Claw is a champion's game.
It's too hard.
We had to patch it to make it easier.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not fighting Omar. This is too hard.
Because Lambert's insane when it comes to wanting to like make a game super challenging. You know, like where the timing has to be perfect on every jump and stuff. It just added a factor to Claw that was just sort of unplanned, which was, you know, here's this nice family-friendly, accessible game that will kick your ass like bad.
Yeah, with the guy level designing who's like placed everything at the highest levels. Like, oh well, everyone should have to play the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I know that's true because when I was doing all my research, that's one of the number one things.
It's ridiculous.
Claw's notorious difficulty.
Yes.
See, but I think now, like, you know, an unpatched version of Claw might play well with the speedrun audience. Right.
It does. Pappy QC actually is one of our world record speedrunners. I really wish Pappy was on the chat, but there's and I can't remember the time off the top of my head, but they're still speedrunning.
Speedrun on Claw. That's awesome. You know, I also have super fond memories like Bouwman, like of Blood. Like literally every night we would fire up Blood and be playing that game, and you know, it has all the same type of fun characteristics that Doom 2 had, plus. I remember when we were in development, this pissed me off. When we were in development, the voodoo doll was finally implemented, and I learned how to use that thing and just rack up the frags, rack them up. And I guess it annoyed Nick Newhart, who was like the lead engineer on it, and he specifically nerfed the voodoo doll. Because of those games that we were playing, ruined.
Just got tired of getting beat.
I ruined my huge advantage. Ruined it. So, you know, there was that. I have a lot of fond memories of Kevin Steffens in particular on Shogo, because he was sitting there working on the AI and the weapons. I remember being in Kevin's office and he's making the bodies explode. And because he'd shoot the guy and then the body parts would go all over the place. And I remember being in there and like the arm would stick to the wall or something like that. And Kevin and I just looked at each other and looked at that, just started laughing. And we just said, you know what, let's just leave it like that. Let's like don't even like just, he's like, well, shouldn't we just try to come? No, just let it all, just let it all, just, we just thought it was so humorous. So, you know, so each game for me has like a set of special memory. Like when John Jack kicked the wall and put a hole through it, he's got so mad. Like there's all these things. You know, but if I had to just pick just one game,
you disappoint people if you don't say Condemned.
Well, see, for me, who's been there for like by the time you get to Condemned, and Condemned 2, you have a pretty sophisticated Monolith that's really making games, and the animal that it's fun, and but it knew much more what it was doing then, compared to prior to then, when it was a lot of searching around and figuring out, and just even how to schedule a project, and I remember running into Goble's office one time, and just this was when Claw was trying to ship, and there was like some bug, I can't remember exactly what it was, that was holding up the build or holding up the final thing, and we were all waiting on Goble, and Goble was trying to fix it, and I just kind of started yelling at him, and he made some comment to me that just totally busted me open. Like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but that kind of stuff was less frequent the further you went down into Monolith's timeline, and that's what you see Monolith's games get more and more sophisticated, and now what they make today is just incredible, right? It's at the top of the idea that the Mordor game is using lift tech on some level, right? Like it's like a part of it, like you follow the fetus of lift tech, and then you just all the way. That's crazy to me. Like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like just the idea that because the Mordor stuff is amazing, right? It's its own thing and it's great. But if you knew like what the fetus of that used to be, remember it used to be direct engine and all of that in a bag of chips. See, Goble's laughing because he knows. I don't know. Just I can't answer the question. There's too many.
Has everybody weighed in on their favorite? Okay, Toby, yes, please.
Okay, I'm actually now I'm using the Wi-Fi off my phone because the internet has actually died here in the flat. So hopefully you can still hear me. Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. Modern technology. Gosh, I don't know. It's the same. There were so many memories like early on. I think playing the games that we played back then, Blood for sure, just getting on and trying to rock everybody. I think one of the best memories for me, because again, this is like the really early days of 3D to go back, and it was something that just had resonated with me for a long time. And we got it was like a reference board from Rendition, the Verite, I think is what it was called, and it was one of the first 3D hardware accelerated video cards that you could get. And I remember it was like me, Mike DeSalt, who was absolutely instrumental in building up a lot of the tech at Monolith, and me and Mike just spending all this time getting this sort of small demo up and running, and we got it going, and it was just like this giant light bulb, and then everyone just piles in my office, and we got this tinier, back then it was like CRT monitors, right? So it's like, I don't know, 15-inch or something, these tiny monitors, and just seeing that 3D demo, that basic, very, very early version of LiftTech in running it was absolutely phenomenal. And I think it was it's just one of these things where you see that and you think, okay, where's the next step going to be? Where's the next step? And as Jason said, you can just go, grab Unity or any number of technologies and build just amazing, and these huge communities too. Like back then, there was no Stack Overflow. There was no, I mean, the internet was infantile. So it's like trying to find information. I mean, I remember Bryan, Goble and me just spending hours trying to figure out DirectX bugs, just banging well, actually Bryan would be banging the keyboard. I'd be, I'd be sitting there quietly. But really for me, those, I mean, I don't know how many, I think it wasn't until Terry showed up that we had someone who was better at destroying keyboards. Honestly though, that for me, those are my fondest memories. It's this Herculean effort by everyone without the guidance that we have, that we take for granted today. It really felt like we were sort of like just carving our way through mountains and rivers and everything, and we're actually making headway. So, and then, it wasn't a Monolith game, but probably beating Jason at Warcraft 2 was also one of my
Get out of here.
Dude, come on, I spanked you.
Get out of, hey, do you remember what I did this? Remember Scott Schlegel? Remember when we had that big bet? And oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. You probably did beat me at Warcraft. I can't remember.
Maybe once or twice.
Jason's definitely getting old if you can't remember being beat at a game.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I did think that just following up on what you said, Toby, is amazing. I don't think it's such a profound difference today. If people want to do what you guys did back in '94 and through the '90s, there just weren't any guideposts. There just really, and no real way to easily look up that information. It's incredible. I have one final question and a couple of things to share with you guys. I think we could do this all day. I really do. I had no idea how many stories we'd have, which has just been incredible. Jace, I can't let you leave without, and I know you can't go down this rabbit hole. So just to confirm, because I get this question a lot on our community, you have the rights to Condemned, the IP. That's true.
It is not true.
Oh, see, this is a piece of scuttlebutt that we hear. It's a rumor of the internet age.
There's a non-disclosure.
Yeah, you don't have to go into anything.
Spoken on it. There's a non-disclosure that I have that doesn't allow me to reveal.
Okay, that's all you got to say.
All I can say is if I had it personally, I would have started to do something with it by now.
All right. Yes, that's something fans always ask about, but that's cool. Thank you very much. That was a perfectly excellent answer. The other thing is, I don't know, Eric, do we have a chance we could pull up the leaderboard just to show them? How fast do you think, Blood, the game that we're talking about, how fast do you think the world record speedrun is for Blood? Speedrun, world record.
For the
whole game, all the way through, soup to nuts.
I don't know that. I mean,
all right, I have the answer.
What is the answer?
15 minutes, 12 seconds.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Is what that is.
That's got to be Nick Newhart. Probably just woke up and was like, someone found a glitch in my code. How did you do that?
Yeah, that's actually how speedrunners often roll. In fact, it's not even on. Oh, yeah, it is actually. Maxi Lobes is a speedrunner. He did F.E.A.R. actually and Condemned as well. But he's found a lot of exploits for F.E.A.R. And it is just basically like the little things running through the code. So 51 minutes for F.E.A.R.
That was all Goble's fault.
I was going to see how you pointed at me, Mark.
I know you. Yeah, and Shogo, 38 minutes, 41 seconds. And I just have to, because this was one of the things that we did for the anniversary is we did a speed run leaderboard of all of our old games. Well, all of our games, like the big ones. Shogo, the world record was beaten 3 times, I believe. PMC Trilogy was a great speed runner. I think he posted one. Then he broke his own record. And then Skillertar, I hope I'm saying that right, is his protege who ultimately unhorsed him, all within the course of the speedrun challenge. And then Maxi Lopes just destroyed. There was actually different people who had speedrun that. And then in the last day of the competition, he came in. It's like, here's my videos, confirmed. Boom, boom, boom. New record on Condemned. Which, by the way, Jace, 1 hour, 30 minutes Condemned.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh, Maxi Lopes. 3 games up there.
Is it known what the original name of Shogo was? Is that publicly known? Or does everyone still think that it was Born Shogo? You know?
We can't stop you, Jace.
No, I don't know if that information is out there. I don't want to be redundant.
Oh, no, I don't believe it is.
The original name of Shogo was Metal Tech with a K, T-E-K.
Actually, that's not redundant because I think there's a lot of people that didn't know that. But we did the Shogo 20th anniversary, and I think that did come up when we had. But it's still cool information.
Yeah,
anything worth knowing, it's worth knowing twice.
I can't, like, there's probably so many little facts that we all know. This just, we might think is not a big deal, but like the culture probably really wants to know them. So, please gather whatever questions you have, and I would say send it to us, and we can see if we can answer like a few of them. There's because there's so many things happened at Monolith that I think looking back were significant as it relates to the industry, like just how our existence impacted Valve, right? Because we were formed before them, and we were sitting there in Kirkland, Washington, and then they formed down the street, right? They were down by the Crossroads Mall at first, the first place, and so we would all our engineers would interact with theirs, and there's like a community that grew up, or how members. Oh, we got to bring this one up. Remember when we went to Zombie, and we were with Mark, and there was a game they wanted us to make, and we needed to bid on the game, like how much it would cost to make.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
and we went back, like we had the meeting, and we went back, and I remember the Bryans got together because that's what they were doing. They were like the adults, so they computed. We think this is going to cost about $600,000 for us to do this, and for there to be, and so we say, okay. So then we go to the next meeting, and we say, hey, we think it's going to be $600,000. And Mark at the time, who had the company, said, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. We'll think about that. And then I think that meeting ended, and then we had one more follow-up meeting to sort of get the answer. And when we had this answer, we go in there, and we're just sitting there, and Mark like has this look on his face, and he goes, before I talk to you, there's something I really have to ask you. And we're like, oh, what? Geez. He's like, last time when you were here, I got up and went to the bathroom. See, Goble's remembering now. He's like, I got up and went to the bathroom, and the contract that I got from my publisher was laying on my desk. And the exact amount of money we're getting from the publisher is $600,000.
I forgot about that.
And then you guys come in and say it's $600,000. So I got to know, did you look at that contract that was on my desk? And like, we were all like, what?
Yeah.
Like that, it was so out of left field. So he was like really suspicious of us. But I remember leaving that meeting, Mark's fine. It didn't, he was not a dick or anything. But I remember leaving that meeting and thinking, wow, the Bryans really nailed exactly what it would cost to do this. Because that was like one of our first like big game bids for like just trying to guess how much something would cost. And they literally figured out exactly the same thing that Mark, who already had a company going for a couple of years, and so he had some experience in figuring that out. So I just remember walking away impressed with my guys, my team's ability to figure out that stuff, because that part was beyond me at that time. So that is an anecdotal story. The famous accusation.
You have actually brilliantly touched on, Jace, the question I was going to ask last, actually, for you guys. And then I have something I wanted to show you really quickly. I've waited, I think, since I've been thinking about this to show you guys and talk to you about it, or at least ask you about it. But first, the legacy. You walked through the building today. I think maybe for the first time you've been back to Monolith in a very long time. You see all the desks. You see all the games that have come, that you started all of this. So Jace has talked about the legacy that Monolith was for him. Anybody else want to just say what the legacy has been for you?
It's funny, Jason mentioned the meeting we had when we first started at Denny's and we clanked the glasses. And I remember after that, Jason, you said you would do this a lot. We pulled, we did the clank, and then Jason said, oh, and then the scene changes to, 10 years later, and there's a huge office building with people making multiple games. And that's kind of what happened, right? I mean, it's kind of wild to think that, right? And now it's been 25 years. I mean, I'm just really proud that, the company still exists and is just kicking butt, and it's just made awesome games. And, just, proud to have been a small part of getting it, started and all the craziness back then. But, just how pro it turned into, now it's like a real company and they make, award-winning games. And it's just awesome. So I'm just really proud that it continues to exist today and thrive and grow. And so that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything these guys said, exactly. It's kind of amazing when you look around. I mean, the people who I still know, and then a bunch of the people who I don't know. And when you see the write-ups on the games and just take a look at them and the kind of what they're all creating now, it's pretty mind-blowing. So yeah, it's exciting. We were part of the game industry back then and it's carried on, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm always blown away by everything here, and I'm just so thankful that Kevin and all the things that he's done. I mean, I feel like he's taken the company beyond where we had it, and it's just the fact that it's still there and still doing all these incredible things is just, I'm just very impressed with everyone.
Wait,
it's the DNA that Jason talked about when Jason had his speech that made us all have a little tear down our face. That was the reality. Is you guys set up the DNA, the family culture, the fact that it was a lifestyle choice basically, that you live and you work and you play all together. I think that's the DNA that's still here. I mean, Matt, who'll be in the segment coming up, I mean, he'll tell you, I mean, the soccer teams that are here, it's the way the guys do gaming together. It's all, that was DNA you guys started. Like that's not us. That was here before we got here. We just are carrying it forward.
Well, here's what I'll say is, to the people who work at Monolith and have worked at Monolith, just know that Monolith was literally founded with nothing but passion and interest in making games that are fun to play. There was no the tone of, oh, we're just going to try to make a bunch of money, or it's like some business thing we're just trying to do. That was not even remotely the vibe of what we were doing. And so just know that your history comes from a true passion for the culture, a true passion for the art, and as well where the art meets the science. That's what we were doing, and that's what you are ultimately, if you trace it back, associated with, just as a foundational sort of principle. To the internet and to the culture, what I will leave you with is, one of the nicknames that I give Kevin Steffens is Kevin Stuffed Buns, just because he's got a lot of power back there. He can jump real high. So just when you see him, and he kind of reminds me of
Suing you, Jason.
A little bit of Gregory Hines, but with explosive sprinting ability. That's Kevin Stuffed Buns. So you guys can have that one. That one's a freebie.
Toby, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I echo pretty much everything everyone said. Like, I think to be a game studio that's still there 25 years later, that's evolved, I mean, it's incredibly humbling, really. And when Shadow Mordor came out, won all the awards, the effort that had gone in, like there's Monolith right at the top of its game, and this is like 19 years after we sort of originally started the studio. It's absolutely incredible, and it's a gargantuan team effort. Like everyone said, it's like you bring the passion and you build value and you do the best you can. Like it's incredible to see. So, I mean, I'm, constantly humbled.
Thank you, guys. That has been amazing. I can't let you go, though, without being here while we watch this together very quickly. Eric, if you'd be so kind. And Jace, if you would like to comment, please feel free.
Oh, boy.
Let's see if we can. Oh, yeah, here we go. I just hope you can hear the audio, which is the thing, but the stream can. A couple of the chat people are already going, yes, thank you.
I remember
hanging around with Monolith.
This video.
That's Toby's apartment.
Oh.
Yep. That's Toby's apartment. There's Bryan Bouwman. There's Goble.
Look at Bo. That's inside Toby's apartment.
That's inside the Edmark studio, where Toby's got his hand up like that.
So was this a promo video? Was that or was it just for fun? Just shits and giggles
Screwing
one
around.
night?
Oh gosh, is that the one where I lift Brian's someone's checkbook?
Yes, Jason's. That comes through the end.
That's coming.
Well, there's Toby's Trans Am, Brian Goble's RX-7, and my Dodge Stealth.
Yeah.
Too elite.
My car wasn't cool enough.
I love the car display though. That's a very nice touch.
There's Toby.
It's period correct.
So I had a bit more hair back then.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah.
Hair's for girls. Come on.
There we go.
There. Wow.
Oh wait. Oh yeah, this is the best. This sums up what you were
Yeah,
talking
this
about,
sums up-
Bryan Bouwman earlier.
Yes.
This is
He
very
has-
sitcom-y.
Yes.
Oh,
It's not Reddit for anybody.
I don't run, okay?
Yeah.
Was this before or after Friends?
It was before. I think it was. Well, that would be up to you guys, but
Wow. I never thought because I made this video, right? I edited it together, and
yeah.
I never thought we'd be watching it 25 years later. That's
Wait, I thought I was stuffed buns.
That's incredible.
Here you go.
You know what? Fortunately, C-First isn't around anymore, so there's no chance that's going anywhere. All right. Well,
Wow.
that's cool. You know. So, guys, thank you so much for coming in, for doing
Our
this.
pleasure. It was fun.
our pleasure.
Awesome.
This was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mark.
Jason, Toby, for calling in.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks for
this
having
was
us.
great.
Yeah.
And,
Thank
hey,
you. A real honor.
Let's
Thanks,
do it on the
guys.
50th. What do we say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be here.
We're in.
Yeah. Right on. Cool. All right. Well, everybody stay tuned. We're actually going to have some current Monolith leadership come in as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about the modern age and ask some questions too. If you give us just a second, we're just going to hold tight here and just swap out some equipment and we'll be right back.
wait.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
Matt is coming next.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk to him?
Well, just
FMA?
make sure you ask him what FMA stands for. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Is that Jace asked? Right. Yeah, you can actually jump on the kids right now. This is going to be, so everybody stay with this. This is going to be like a loose transition, so don't worry about it. We're a working studio. All right, stay tuned. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so actually, if
Oh, look at that. There he
folks
is.
feel free to...
There he is.
You know what? I'm actually going to use that as a... Also, everyone, while we're swapping out, take a look at this beautiful Discord art that we have. This is from our VGP challenge that we've been doing. We had so much great art that came through, and we're very, very happy to have it all. You can vote for it if you join our Discord. And mods, I don't know if you've got that link handy, but you can join our Discord and you can vote for the art. It's in the VGP challenge voting channel. A lot of people worked really hard on it, and so that's cool. Meanwhile, we're gonna just say goodbye to the guys here really quickly, and then get our new crew in. Yeah. See, and I think look at. Oh, we're live, by the way. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Oh, that's good. That's good because you've muted us. You're a very smart man. Oh, somebody already said nice Monolith jersey. That's cool on Mutual 6. One of our speedrunners, by the way, and one of our VGP artists. All right. Well, I think maybe we should just kind of jump in. So before I'm going to ask for intros, and then I'm going to say you've got a split guy with the smoking jersey. And then I've got some more little softball questions here. So yes, we'll do intros and we'll do that. Sorry, just switching over to my new script. All right, Eric, are you ready, good sir? All right.
Hello.
Now. Hello, everybody. We are back. And we're actually back with a new crew. This would be the current leadership of Monolith, the modern age, but not even
Part of
really
the leadership.
Because, I mean, you're also super elder statesman, if I may be so bold. I think that's not an age. You were all 14 when you started.
It's not really the leadership. Not all of us.
Are you not?
It's just the old. It's just the old guys.
It's just these guys.
Right.
You kids get off my lawn!
Right. I don't think, but so much Monolith history is wrapped up. And actually, what you guys do, like, I think every time I talk about Audio Threat, any of the games that we go to and your names come up, people flock to the stream. People love Matt in our Discord, who's got a million stories. Matt Rice, they were just talking about your soccer jersey. You're right. So actually, can we give everybody a quick intro to make sure? So Matt, please introduce yourself to the worldwide internet.
Hello, internet. So I'm Matthew Rice. I'm the director of engineering for the gameplay team. I've been at Monolith for 14 years now. Started on Condemned. This guy hired me.
I don't actually think I hired you.
There we go. I think you were on mute.
Yeah, you got to do the. You got to have the. Yeah.
Technology.
Press that. There you go. I'm the director of technology, and I messed that up. All right, let's do it all over again. So I'm Matthew Rice. I'm the director of engineering for the gameplay team. I've been at Monolith for about 14 years now, and first game was Condemned. I was the UI engineer for it.
You got a lot of Condemned fans on here right now.
Excellent. Okay, I'm Matt. I'm also Matt. I've been here 23 years. Next week, it's 23 years next week.
Wow.
Yeah. What was awesome? So I listened to Jace and the Bryans and Garret, and they didn't even get to. They got at the very end of the thing. They got to the office park. Most of it was just here's shit we did either at Edmark or in fucking Brian's apartment with Spen and those guys. So they were telling stories I literally had never heard. And they didn't even get to the batshit crazy. They sort of alluded to we worked a lot, but oh my God.
You've got to tell the batshit, Matt. You have
those
to.
guys were insane. No, I avoided them like the plague. They were crazy. They were, yeah. That was, all right. So I'm Matt. I'm the current director of technology, and I'm really fucking old.
All right. Not on you're muted again, dude.
Oh yeah, I messed that up.
I know. But do I hold a button down?
No, you don't have to.
No, you just have to.
I like the fact that you said you're the current director of technology.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be replaced soon.
Yeah, and it was even wrong. So, director of technical art.
All
I even
right.
got that wrong.
Yeah, the current director of technical art.
That's hopefully somebody will replace me soon. Be done with this.
Okay. Well, hey everybody. I'm Bryan Pamintuan. I think I'm the current director of audio. As last time I checked, I am, unless I'm that old that I can't remember. Yeah, I've been here since now. This April will be 19 years, which is crazy. That's just crazy.
That's a great thing about Monolith. It seems like people stay. That's a
It just sucks you in.
I've been here forever.
It's good.
And all the people who are young are out there actually doing work. We're just I don't know how to do work. When was the last time you compiled code?
Yesterday.
Oh,
I
fuck,
wrote code
man.
yesterday.
I messed
How?
up. That
I
messed
broke
up
the
mine
build
too.
though.
Is that what the build, bro?
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Grigg.
I'm Nathan Grigg. I'm a composer at Monolith, and I've been working here since Valentine's Day 2001. And a little bit before then, I was actually on a team that consisted of some contractors that were helping out with the first No One Lives Forever game. So I did do some direct music arranging for some of the compositions there. But I came in to Monolith proper during Aliens vs. Predator 2. And I've been here since then. So
Also, a lot of AVP2 fans.
Yeah, most of chat is AVP2 fans, and the entire time they're like, "Why the fuck isn't there an AVP2 poster back here? Like, what's the matter with those guys? These guys suck." So I was actually going to go pull one off the wall and just bring it in, but I didn't because I also suck.
But because we actually have a lot of AB2 posters on the wall around the studio, and you can win. Actually, did somebody win one on the speedrun challenge? They did the Aliens campaign, and so I was like, yeah, you can do it. So you'll get a signed poster. I can't remember who that was, but it's all right. So we have you guys. Thank you so here. By the way, I think that after having listened to all the introductions, that is leadership. I can't imagine any other way to talk.
You're literally saying that because Kevin's not in the room. Right, but as soon as Kevin comes back in the room, like,
oh, that's leadership.
Bow down to the leadership.
Maybe DePlatter walks by in the hall.
That's leadership.
Yeah,
that's leadership.
I hope we get Mike in here. He came in and then it was right at the tail end of this founder segment. So maybe he'll come back. It'll be cool. So I actually have a really interesting question for you guys. Well, I hope it's interesting. So how did you get started in games? And dovetail that into what advice would you give someone who wants to do what you do? What would you tell them to do these days?
And by what we do, you mean just like fuck off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How do you do that in games?
That's super easy. So I think I can help.
The trick is getting paid for it.
Right. Yeah. Oh shit. You get paid?
You guys are getting paid? Yeah. How did I get into games? So this is actually not there we go. So I was in college, University of Missouri. I wasn't paying attention to when like all the job companies were coming to town. So it was already like spring, and a whole bunch of my peers had already gotten jobs. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I didn't know there were interviews happening. What's happening? So I opened up, remember Game Developer? Yeah, exactly. Remember Game Developer magazine? I opened up the back of that.
And that was a print magazine, is that correct?
Yes, this was before, the internet was around, but it was Telnet. Yeah, exactly. There was an advertisement for just some one of the first recruiters in the industry, like dedicated recruiters. So, but he only worked with companies. So I actually created my own company. It was called Animated Cheese. And all I did was put a resume on it.
This is incredible, by the way. I've never heard this story. This is great.
I did not know that.
So
Animated Cheese? Animated Cheese. I mean, it wasn't like a LLC. It wasn't like a real company. I just said I have a company now. And then I gave my resume to this guy, and he's like, "Oh, I totally want to work with you. This is amazing." Even though if he just looked at he's obviously a shyster, right? He just wanted resumes. Anyways, handed my resume to him. It went out to the world. And then this guy who used to work here named Troy Skinner was at this other company called Blue Shift, and it was his first day on the job, and he was supposed to hire a junior engineer, and he was handed 50 resumes, and he took the top 5 off, not like the 5th best, like the top 5 best resumes, the top 5 resumes, threw them away and called 5 people up, and I was one of those 5 people and got hired by him.
Which is really classic Troy Skinner. Right, like just reduce the problem set as small as possible, and then just go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a career track that people could really aspire to. Actually,
yeah, just get lucky. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Be in the top 5 physical resumes.
Yeah,
this is what I tell when I go to DigiPen, and I'm like, they're like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "Well, just make sure you're on the top of the resume stack."
Alphabetically,
but that's kind of true. You get a little bored after a while.
It starts with A,
Yeah.
you're more likely to
I'm
get
pretty
the
sure they
job.
don't print resumes out anymore, though. So that's kind of a
I
problem.
print them right before interviews so I can
Yeah,
read them
only
and
so I
know
can
who I'm
doodle
talking
on them.
to.
That's the
Yeah.
only time. I think if someone sends you a paper resume, that's a red flag right there. Nowadays, we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know where I would pick up my mail here.
I don't,
So if you send me anything, sorry. I'm sorry I won't ever get it.
So, director of technical art, how would somebody get started in your profession?
In my case, they would date a woman who lived right next to one of the founders of Monolith, move in
Not
with
helpful.
her, at some point in time marry her and have a 25-year relationship. But at the start of it, move in with her, have one of the founders of Monolith walking by the door every day, seeing me digitally coloring comic books in like the 90s. And then say, hey, I just started a video game company. You should come see what we're doing. Easy.
I actually, okay, so right, so
That's how you get into
It's
video
also
games.
practical advice.
this
Yeah,
is all
practical is yours.
It's all practical. But you know what is practical is the fact that, like, you talked about, like, taking initiative to start your own business. I mean, all joking aside, people ask me sometimes, how would you get into the community side of things? It's like, you don't got to, in a way, pull yourself by your own bootstraps. Make yourself something that other studios will look at.
You just
And-
do it. Yeah, like the thing is
Yeah,
like,
just do it.
Yeah, the easiest way to get in video games is to make a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more accessible now than ever.
Yeah, it's way easier. Back in when I was doing it, like nobody thought about making video games.
Yeah, because it was the barrier to entry was so large. Make a video game.
It's the barrier to entry was like obfuscated.
Yeah.
Like I could make Myst now, probably in my sleep.
Yes.
But back then, it's like, how the fuck
That
do
was
you burn
impossible.
a CD?
Yeah. Exactly.
You like back then, like Bryan was saying, there was no internet, so I couldn't search burn a CD or make Myst. I do that now, and I get like 1,000 hits on Stack Overflow. We'll render some shit, do the clicking. You've made Myst.
I really, it is amazing the learning curve, how much it shifted with the internet. I know that sounds so old school, but God, it's true, man. It's so true. When it was all word of mouth, how did you do that? I know.
Remember when they called it the information superhighway? Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I remember that. That's kind of sad, but it's true.
Bryan, audio. Yes.
So let's see. My story was, I was actually, before Monolith, I was working in a hospital. And I was supposed to be a nurse.
You would have been an awesome nurse.
Yes. Yeah, I was supposed to be.
You would have been the
thanks.
most fashionable nurse
I
there ever
knew
was.
it. See, I'm currently not the audio director, obviously, because it's like, you should have been a nurse. Anyway, so I was supposed to be a nurse, and then what happened while I was working at the hospital, I was playing music. I was kind of DJing and doing all that stuff, recording bands, playing music, as I was still working in the hospital. And then I quickly was like, I don't want to do this. I don't at all. And then I'm like, okay, I kept playing music, and then all of a sudden, like, shit, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be a rock star. Now what am I gonna do?
Fallback plan, video games.
Now what am I gonna do? So then it was like, hey, I'm gonna go make music for video games. So then
You'll always be a rock star.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. So then I knew somebody that worked at Monolith, Sandra Watanabe. Yeah.
Oh,
Her now husband worked at the hospital, and I was like, hey, don't you know somebody that works at, and it was Sandra. And then she got me in talking with James, and then next thing you know, I got hired. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do some music. And then I quickly went, oh, heck no, I am no composer. I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way. I can do one track. That's it. But if I have to do a whole game and keep it in like a 60s style, there's no way. So it was like, I'm going to quickly go to sound design, stay there, and then hire Nate. And I'm good to go.
What's funny about that is I had the exact same thing, but with concept art. So I was hired for concept art, and they brought me in for Shogo concept art. And they're like, draw some fucking guns. And I was like, okay. So I start doing it, and I'm looking, I'm like, my roommate is way better at it than I am, and you guys need help, making models. So why don't you hire my roommate? Eric Kohler, and then I'll go make models. So it was literally like, I can't fucking draw anime guns, but I know somebody who can.
Exactly.
So let's go get him.
We're starting to zero in on the way you can get into games. You can maybe date someone that's already in games, or knows a founder. You can maybe be a nurse, can be slash DJ.
That's what happened to me, actually.
Yes.
Or randomly roll the dice.
In all the cases, it seems like a real flaw in the interview process, though.
Right. What are you doing here? Can you concept
Nathan has to bring us home. Now, here's a working professional. Here's a person who's done it the right way. Tell us.
There was no right way to start video games, especially in the 90s. Just out of dumb luck, my wife got I want to credit her that she managed to land this position. But I mean, dumb luck in that, that I had a relationship going on with this woman who in college, who spent her second half of her undergraduate time down in Oakland, California at Mills. And there are a lot of little startups in California doing game development at that time. And it was, 16-bit consoles were kind of ruling at that time. So you're talking to Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, those types of platforms. And she got a gig right out of college at this guy's, in his own house kind of company making a Sega Genesis game. And then she got another gig after that down in San Luis Obispo. And what we sort of discovered is that some of these places just really didn't have audio solutions. And one of the take homes for her was it's like, oh, I want to make my own games. I want to start my own company. And so we did, actually, with zero venture capital and trying to do it with like interns up in Seattle. We basically, gutted out our in-laws' basement and put a game studio in there, or some semblance of what a 22-year-old could do on credit card debt. For me, that was more like it was something that we never achieved a release title. We were attempting to do one on the Super Nintendo, and we had a development system for that. But one of the interesting things is that through her previous contacts, and the fact that, ironically, since I was pretty heavily involved in media at Evergreen when I was going to school there in Olympia, a lot of my colleagues there had found positions in places like Microsoft, and they were starting to get a foothold over there. And so there was a certain point when I was helping some of these companies out remotely doing audio for them. And that was I was sort of trying to fund our operation, with that. And then there was a certain point around 1995 where everybody was going, well, what's the next big thing going to be? Is it going to be the 3DO, the Jaguar, the Saturn? Like, does anybody remember these systems? It's like the only thing that really actually ever ended up taking hold was PS1, and we weren't there yet. And so I ended up, getting in better contact with some of the folks that were getting the foothold over at Microsoft, and I just leaped over to PCs. And during that time, there was this interesting development that was going on. I was doing some games and reference business projects that were in like Carta Encyclopedia and things like that. I supplied some music and audio and for some of those types of things, as well as some sports games that were on CD-ROMs. This is all pre-Xbox stuff. MSN was starting to launch, and they were going up against AOL. And so it was like, they had like a whole group of people that were doing interactive television work, and they folded all that all of a sudden and threw all these guys into MSN to say, no, it's the internet. We got to go. So it's been really it was sort of a crazy system. So they what they did is they connected me into that system as sort of a content person, along with a whole bunch of other people doing audio, and I was supervising music and contracting out different composers to make music for their core UI. And it was all done with this sort of predecessor to direct music technology. And that was something, coincidentally, that Monolith started putting into their games. And so I was watching this whole thing unfold at MSN going, yeah, okay, it's look out AOL. And it's all this trying to like do interactive television type stuff with like Flash, and like everybody's like waiting on their dial-ups going, I just want to get to my browser, you know, and it's like whiz bang, you know, and it was completely insane. And so what they ended up doing is, you know, Monolith came in and demonstrated Shogo during this time, and I was pointing to the people in the games going, this is where you need to do it, not this, but you need to do it over here. Like these guys are already doing it, you know. And it was like Guy Whitmore and James Ackley and Dan Bernstein, all the, you know,
Shogo
all the
fans.
audio people before us were demonstrating this game, and it was awesome. And so you know, I handed Guy a demo, you know, because I, you know, just always just trying to kind of, you know, keep my head out there. And eventually, you know, I got reorganized into MS Studios. Entire department of audio folks were supporting product groups there, and they ended up, you know, the MS Studios sort of changed charter, and so all those people ended up kind of getting displaced. And so I was looking for some work, and one of the things that came up during that time was, you know, Guy Whitmore called me back up, you know, just remembered my demo, and you know, wanted to get some extra support on No One Lives Forever. So that's how I kind of got my foot in the door. And then he was moving off to do independent work and working with some other studios, and Aliens vs. Predator 2 was coming on pretty strong. And so that's when I connected with folks at Monolith to see if I could work with him.
So, two things. A, we've got some AVP2 people that had some audio questions in chat. B, now that's how you fucking answer a question, people.
That was pretty epic.
It's epic.
That was good. I was taking notes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a chapter in my book.
I like the fact that you mentioned Encarta.
Yeah. You may have worked with my wife who worked on Encarta at that time.
CD-ROM stuff. Yeah, I worked on Encarta 96 as a kind of collage of different things that I added music to and stuff. So I mean, I did a lot of crazy stuff in the 90s. But
we all did, didn't we?
I worked at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Working at Microsoft is nuts.
I do remember Encarta though. Yes, the multimedia encyclopedia.
But you had a supplementary question there about how people wanting to get in the industry, that sort of thing.
Yeah, basically, like how, because people, you know, what's funny is because I think we're all of a certain generation where part of what's coming through, and I think a lot of these answers, although like you actually had, I think, the most professional road in, is that a lot of times you're just kind of really making your way. Like there were opportunities. It's funny. It's like I started my own business too. I know you got to go, Matt. It's okay. But like
we did the same thing. So it totally makes sense.
Yeah, it was like, how am I gonna do it? I got hired by Wizards because I made my own company called Hip Sensibility Advertising was the name, and they hired me to do magic ads and my partner, and we just totally pulled it out of our ass.
HSA.
What's that?
Hip Sensibility
Advertising? Yes. Hip Sensibility Advertising.
HSA.
Yeah.
All right.
There was no health.
You should have run that name through like a marketing team or something like that.
You should have. It was the 90s, baby.
Exactly.
But it's funny because nowadays I think there is like, you know, DigiPen and things that you're talking about where there's like more structure to it that you can actually do it.
Well, there's like, you know, there's like even on the audio side, they have the Game Audio Network Guild. And I went in there once during a GDC where they were doing a demo derby, and they had a whole bunch of composers all playing a minute of music and to be reviewed in front of a panel. And I was sitting next to one guy, and he basically, played his demo. It was pretty good, you know, and he was talking to me a little bit about. I said, "Did you bring anything?" And I'm like, "No, I'm talent scouting." So I was out there trying to kind of figure out who's new and who's out there and doing cool stuff. Like maybe I'd find somebody really cool. And he basically said, you know, so I like this organization, but you know, I always feel like I'm hanging out with the people I'm competing with, you know, and I'm like going, well, yeah, you need to hang out with developers. You know, don't hang out with musicians all the time. I mean, it's, you know, you need to find places where there are people that have problems and that you look at and you go, wait, I can actually jump into problem solving mode with this type of thing. You know, it might just be a startup just trying something out, but may not have a solution in your field. And then when you look at it, there are people just always trying to do that. And it might not be the most prestigious, you know, looking thing on the surface, but if you're just trying to kind of get in, then, you know, why not jump in and try to get into problem solving mode rather than just doing like the cold demo type thing where, you know, you know, and then you know, back then it was like, you know, you'd have CDs and you'd try to send them out to everybody. And then it became, you know, USB dongles, and now it's like, oh, just go to my site, or here's some links, but it's like but always like trying to kind of find those people that may be outside your field, but maybe a field that you're trying to connect to abroad that could you realize, oh, they're not thinking about this, maybe I can help them.
This seems all really practical.
Well,
good practical advice. I'm just like random, just walk into it.
But but maybe that's true too.
Just make a game. You're like, actually do some work.
But isn't it true? Isn't it true that video games, I still feel like as an industry, we're like the last readout of scoundrels in a way. Like you can still do some. Hey, Kevin's gonna trace. Oh, by the way, everyone, we lost Matt Rice because he had to go to an interview because Monolith is hiring. So check our website out for those.
Technically, I'm also in this interview, but he's covering for me. We're both in the interview. I didn't set it up.
I know, that's why you can't be. You gotta
I'm
stay
here for you. I'm here
with
for
the
you
people.
guys.
Because I also would like to actually, this is where the community can actually ask some questions about the production of our games, especially with you here. So, but yeah, just to finish that thought, I do think like in the way that if you want to try to get a start in the games industry, it is still an industry that you can kind of be like, roll the dice, like get to know somebody, excel at something in your own capacity. And, developers are out there looking, they can find it. I realize it's getting a little bit more drilled down in terms of training and education and stuff like that, but there are still those opportunities.
Yeah, if you've made something and that something is good, you're always gonna.
And that's a really great point.
That's either a foot in,
right.
That's either a foot in the door, or somebody's really, or it gives you sort of a lot of openings, as they were talking about earlier with. All the ways to distribute stuff, whether or not it's Steam or Unreal Store, like it's super easy. Like if you make something good, something sweet will happen out of it. But the first thing you ever make won't be good. So you just have to be into it. You just have to keep doing it because like if you're like they said earlier, if you're passionate about it, you'll keep doing it.
Right.
And that's how you bring.
I know it sounds cheesy to say this, but I swear it is true. Do what you love and the money will follow. I believed that all through the 90s, but basically because it is the only way that you get through that amount of work and that thing. So you talk about like, if you want to be in games, make a game. That is true, but you got to be passionate about it. You got to love it because it's a whole lot of hard work, which is the other part.
Easy. Yeah. It's still not easy. And I'm surrounded by like 150 incredibly talented folks, and every day it's really hard. So I'm just going to go cry now.
So what I wanted to do though, because I want to take some questions from chat here towards the end, because I know a lot of people have been super patient about like running through that stuff, and I'm seeing like some I'll scroll through, but can we quickly just like refresh people's memory, like what games you've worked on so they know what kinds of questions they can ask about? And you've worked on a lot, so feel free to just highlight. Going down.
Nathan should start.
I
was gonna say start with me.
Yeah.
So Claw, Shogo, No One Lives Forever, AVP2, F.E.A.R. What else am I missing? Condemned, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. I might have missed something, but I think so. Most games.
Did you do any work on like Grunts or Get Medieval at all?
I didn't actually.
So Shogo, Blood 2, AVP2, Nulf originally did concept art for Nulf. Sanity, Tex Atomic's Big Bot Battles. The Nulf,
that's a Liftech game.
Yeah, the Nulf PS2 port. Tron 2.0, Condemned 1, Condemned 2, F.E.A.R 2. A bunch of unsigned random things before the Shadow games. Yeah. So a lot.
Yeah, Matt's been here 23 years.
Yeah. Next week.
Yeah.
I forgot about Tex Atomic.
I
remember that.
It's a Liftech game. That's not a Monolith
game. It wasn't
game.
when we started, though.
But it was like, yeah.
What about the outdoor game?
Look it up on Wikipedia.
Deer Hunter.
There was deer. But wasn't there...
We don't talk about that game.
We don't.
no deer.
We don't even go there.
I had totally forgotten about that
it was
until I looked at somebody's resume.
TNN Pro Hunter, I think.
I thought it was TNN it for me. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's mentioned the Matrix Online yet. I worked on that.
Right.
Let's see.
Guardians.
Guardians. Gotham City
Imposters.
Trying to think of what else. Contract Jack.
That's another one we don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
So that was you. Okay. Good to know.
You guys, it's not fair, the sound guys, because you guys work on freaking everything.
I remember that one year where it
Well,
was
it's
like
more like what
F.E.A.R.
games
and
did you
Condemn
work on?
and then Matrix all in that same time
It was
frame.
1 year.
I still think
All in a
that
year.
was the most
incredible.
prolific
That right
year
there.
for any developer ever in the history of
2005.
2005.
Yes.
We had, just to put it in
Nightmares.
context, we had a massively multiplayer online game. We had a AAA first-person shooter, and we had a launch title on console. Name one other developer that had
That was
200,
that stupid.
200 employees that did that much in 1 year. That was that stupid.
Yeah. I watched Jason and Bryan and those guys. I watched Jason and Bryan and those guys talk about it, and they're like, we were just dumb, and these guys are way more sophisticated. And I'm thinking, no. Like we just like for some odd reason, like we've just fumbled through these things. We're like, yeah, we'll ship 3 insane things in a year. We don't like, you don't know any better. Like no one would sign up for that knowingly, but like we were just like, oh yeah, we've got to do it. And you just sort of roll up your sleeves and you do it, right? Like it wasn't fun.
But it's fun to look back at.
It was fun. It was fun.
There was all right.
It's
There
bragging
were
rights.
moments of it that were fun, but most of it was just
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was.
It's like childbirth.
We're all rebelling against Matt right
In
now.
hindsight, it was fun, right?
I think Matt remembers it, in a more realistic sort of way.
It was just hard, There's,
Yeah, it was
there's so much,
very
everyone's-
challenging.
and everyone's.
I remember there was a
super
lot of pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gained a lot of weight that year.
It was like, yeah.
Quick question, long time Genchi. So how many? And this is going to be only you, I think, can answer this, Kevin, or maybe Matt. How many employees? Best guess were there at the beginning? And I guess it'd be like when you, because obviously there was
So
originally.
I know
like
what
5.
I know what employee number I was.
1.
Yeah,
Jason. we already know this.
So I was, and I know what number employee I was because when they gave us our phones, our actual phone numbers were sequential. So everybody could tell when somebody was hired. So Patty was 1507 or 1508. Craig was 1516, and all of the Blood Q Studio guys were hired at the same time. So there was a bunch of those guys right there, and I was 1534. What were you?
So there's a funny story about that because I was employee 60, but I got 61 because Brad got like. I'm echoing. Sorry.
I turned mine off.
So Brad Pendleton accepted the job offer before I did, but I started before him. So they had assigned him phone 60 and I was 61. I still have 1561 and it actually bothers me to this day that I don't have 60.
This whole phone thing is a bit of lore that I actually did not know.
Oh yeah, super important. It's super important.
Yeah.
What's your? Mine's 71.
No, then we're completely wrong. Then we're
probably not.
Oh
on
yeah,
because I'm 1552 and you were before me. Yeah.
Yeah, they changed.
I just know by the email. If you have the old email, that was the
like
old,
your
or you're just
actual
like
full
Matt.
name.
Yeah.
So the thing to remember is that those guys started and they grew a little bit, and then they absorbed an entire team, the Blood team, and so they were working on Blood and doing the work on Claw. And then for some odd reason, they're like, oh, we're only making 2 games. Let's make more fucking games. And so then they started up Metal Tech and they had to build that team. And so like there was a huge jump with the Blood guys. And then there was a really big jump with the sort of Shogo guys. And like in my mind, those things were years apart, but I think they were like probably 6 months apart. Like
you and I are 2 months apart.
Yeah, I know. And you're number 60.
I'm 60 and you're 34. That's how fast they were growing at that time.
That's incredible.
It's batshit.
I'm gonna do some power round questions really quickly to make sure we can scrub some stuff up here. Let's see. We say Disney notes. Oh yeah, AVP 3. like AVP, that's out, right? That's a totally different studio, different publisher.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
It's like
Yeah,
a
we're not
movie
talking about
IP.
just going through just a few questions. Somebody asked who authorized the female sounds in AVP2, like the death sounds, and that is kind of interesting because we were playing against the AVP2 community last Friday, and there was some weird audio going on. I guess it's just a random question. It's hard to answer. You go through the whole thing, it's hard to know where you net out. What was it like doing the audio? That I think we could talk about.
So for AVP, I remember the climax I had on that game was because we had to actually make it sound like they were crawling all over the place. Right. So I remember there was one instance where we had to do the face hugger sounds that were running all over the place, and I remember sticking pen caps on my fingers on Jason's old mixer and just tapping on his mixer, and then it was like, that's it. And then that was like the whole face hugger. And then I remember we had to put it in, and it had to sound like it was coming all over the place and everything. And that was great because you could sit there and it was like, wow, okay, it really sounds like the face huggers, but then it's like, it's over there and then it's over here. And I remember that was my introduction to like, okay, we have to script it. I have to try to make it sound like it's over there. And it was just like really hard at that time to try to make it sound like it's over there.
So Jason was a sound guy. I don't know if that came up.
No.
Yeah. So yeah. Jason was a sound guy.
Yep.
And Jason was also known for hanging out in people's offices just to like sort of, direct. Just like he talked
hover
about
around
and having a good time, but I know it wasn't always it was just like Jason in the back, like just disturbing you.
But people would just ignore him.
Yeah,
he was like the radio in the background.
yeah, you had to get to a point where it's just like, I'm blocking out Jason because I actually have fucking work to do, and this guy's just gonna hang out behind me and sing songs on a guitar for forever. So, but you guys are sound guys.
Yeah.
Did he ever come in and just like try to tell you how to do your jobs?
No, not really. But I do remember when I started, I got all his gear in his old gear, and I remember saying, "Oh yeah, you have to use that. That's like the hippest thing. You got to use that one. It's like that drum machine and that keyboard." But he never really came in. I know he's came in a couple of times and heckled the shit out of us, but I don't think he's ever like, that doesn't sound like that. You got to do it this way. Luckily. For the guy that was the audio guy, you would think that he would come in.
I feel like he was always really good about not trying to tell you what to do, but just try to distract you enough so you would do something else. Like, I feel like that was sort of his.
And then go, see, that's why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, he wouldn't tell you what was bad. He would just overemphasize what he liked, like arm sticking out of the wall or whatever. It's like that, more of that.
Yeah.
If he told you what you'd use, you'd end up doing all your audio and sounded at 16, which probably wouldn't have been ideal.
Yeah, sounded at 16. Peak.
Can I see the mouse? I'm trying to get some trivia stuff here from some other people. Quickly, did either of you guys get to work with Ice-T, Insanity against Artifact? Did somebody get to meet?
I didn't go. So what you should have talked to Garret. So Garret Garret actually went. So they recorded Ice-T at Ice-T's home studio. So Garret actually had to go down to Ice-T's house in Ice-T's home studio and has incredible stories about that I could repeat, but it would be like third-hand Ice-T stories. Wouldn't even cut it.
I'm so sad. Somebody actually asked about Sanity on the thing, and I'm like, oh, we'll get to that with these guys.
Yeah, no, Garret did it. So yeah.
Quick question. What's the deal with Nulf? No deal with us. That's just so. However, whatever in the world that is, it's nothing that we could do anymore. But we loved it when we first made it.
I still love it. Still good game.
Yeah, of course you guys still love it. All right. Nathan, actually, somebody had asked who it was like to work with Don Davis on the Matrix Online soundtrack.
Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. Because he actually did come up and visit. He did like 1 day brief visit. Yeah, I mean, he one of the items that I have that is that I value a lot. It's just I mean, this is kind of one of the perks that I got to working with him, is that there was he at one point, because we were using his music for reference for a lot of things, like when we were doing cinematics and that sort of thing, we would we'd stub in some music from from the movies and that sort of thing. And one of the things that he provided for us is he gave me basically an entire unabridged soundtrack to all 3 films. So that's every cue that was written and you can't buy that. That's just, as far as I know, maybe
Can I buy it from you?
Seriously, it's like
Is it
hand
currently in
burned
your
CDs
office?
with a little note from Don on it. I was like, this is awesome, and it's just something that I've been very careful about. I've kept in a kryptonite line vault ever since.
You mean you don't have it anymore? Is what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so yeah, I mean, that work is inspiring, and it was kind of one of our points in trying to get work with him in general, was that it's like the funny thing about the Matrix soundtrack, when you really think about it, is that it's the orchestral stuff that that we actually found the most value to, in a way, because if you think of like propeller heads tracks and other types of things that they use for the combat sequences, those are really memorable in the sense that when you watched it in the film, it was like, oh, it's like a video game. So there's this kind of this, your brain would switch when you watch the movie. It would hit one of those tracks and you'd be like, oh, this is awesome, it's like a video game. And then, but when it's already a video game, it was like, it was kind of less of a
need more reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly. It was really quite interesting, and you really kind of thought about it. It's like, well, we could invest in licensing a whole lot of tracks that were that, or maybe Bryan and I could make some of those, and and then we just get someone like Don Davis to kind of support us with some of the thematic stuff going on the orchestral side, and of course I wrote a lot of kind of music in that kind of style as well to supplement. So it was an interesting project for that as well. So that was a fun project.
Right on. Propellerhead alone, I totally spaced that when you said that. I'm like, oh my god, I used to love those guys. That's it's so funny. LDSO, who's one of our big Tron fans, actually has been super all in the whole campaign. Esoteric question, perhaps. Love to know the answer. The first initials of the character Thorn in Tron 2.0 is JD. What do these initials stand for? It's never mentioned anywhere in the game.
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Do you actually?
I bet I do.
I would love to hear it, because I think the only person who actually would know would be Frank Rook. So
I was going to say John Dillinger, but then I just realized he's a bank robber.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We would have to ask Frank.
Sure,
You'd
but
have to ask
Dillinger.
Frank, yeah.
All right, Frank, we're on it. I'm on it.
It's been a while since I've talked to Frank, but he would know.
Bryan, you answered a question that Dragon Wraith asked, just tapping on the table with fingers and pen caps for facehugger sounds. That is pretty fun. Have we ever thought of showing milestone builds of games like Volition has done with Saints Row?
No.
Like post ship show milestone.
I think they're talking about in production milestones.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, that's a
will
different.
Happen.
No, that's a different. Yeah,
certainly not in production. I could see showing some old Nolf.
No,
that's
not going to happen.
Come on, that would be fun. But there's no way in development stuff. It's just the amount of stress. The thing that people I don't think realize is when you're making a game, the amount of difficulty and stress the team has just trying to do day-to-day actual making of the game is insane. And then you have these folks who are like, well, we're gonna bring in camera crews, or we're gonna be constantly talking to external fans or folks like that.
Who does that, Matt?
And the thing is that you're just adding stress on something that is already super risky. So your upside has to be super high to do any of that stuff. So yeah, in production, no way, none.
I know. I was thinking like when the guys were in here earlier, thinking about like so many of the original games just released the source code as part. I know that was after launch, but even so, even that seems unheard of nowadays. Just be like, okay, we did this game. Shogo did that, I believe, and I thought you did it for Blood. I thought there's several games.
We used to do that. Yeah, we were. I remember being pretty freaked out about it at first. Like, oh, we just we obviously spent man years making this game and we put it out there and someone's just going to copy us and make a game. And then I remember after, I think it was Shogo or No One Lives Forever, a couple of years went by and I'm like, yeah, no one's made anything. So it's not a risk because we've moved so far ahead. We're just like, we're not worried about this. It just became a thing of like, we're not really worried about them, taking the secret sauce, because the secret sauce, a lot of people think it's the code, but it's not the code, it's the team. And so it's like, yeah, the code can start you off, but anybody, and that's the thing also for modders out there, anybody that takes a game and then makes a mod that's successful, they were the ones that were successful. It wasn't that we had the source engine or we had, Unreal or whatever. It's like, no, it's you had an idea, and that idea and the execution of that idea, that's the hard part. And so, it's there's obviously, monetary value that's nice to have and all that kind of, there's a business side to it. But as far as like risk to us, it's not like, oh, here's this magic thing that if anybody has it, they're going to be successful. That's just not true.
I remember also always being worried about like, oh shit, if we release this, we're going to have to support it. Like I was always like, like you put together games and it's like fucking duct tape and bubble gum and baling wire. And it's like, well, yeah, here's the source code. And I know the first thing is going to be, none of this works. Like, how did you guys make a game with this? It's like, well, do I have a year to walk you through like all the insanity? So like, that was always one of my concerns. Like, we're going to get it out there and I'm just gonna have a ton of people asking me questions. That also
like doing customer service for MacGyver. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not great.
How does this paperclip turn into a rocket?
But it is funny because from that, like some of those old games, you're right. Like the mods, I think that's probably a big reason why there's still a going Blood community, is still AVP2 community. There's still like, ones where the code is there, and then as a result. Speaking of which, that's probably another great way to get a job in games. Be a modder. I mean, isn't it? Like if you can show your
for sure. It's the same thing, right? Like you're making stuff. Like if you are making stuff, like that's your portfolio. Like artists have portfolios because they draw. Like sound engineers, composers have portfolios because they're doing this stuff all the time. Like if you're a designer or if you're an artist or an engineer, if you're making stuff, that's your portfolio. And that stuff is the way, if you don't want to if you're not going to a school that people are grabbing from, if you're looking at it as a second career, just do the things you want to do and build up that portfolio. Fail a lot, build up your portfolio, and then if it's good, you're getting hired. Like we're desperate for people, right? Like companies are desperate for good employees.
It's a good time, right, to be wanting to get a job in the games industry. It seems
there's like everyone's hiring, everyone, and so just make stuff.
We're hiring the best. No.
Yeah.
I think actually, you know what? This would be a great time. Like I promised you guys, we've already run past my thing. I'm so happy. It's 3:00. I'm so happy that you guys have been joining us. I'm having a blast. I'm going to see if anybody in chat has any more questions quickly. And then I was just going to end on this note. Like I asked the founders what they thought their Monolith legacy was, either Monolith as a studio, its legacy, or like what you hope it to be. So I'm just going to ask you guys, right? The future going forward. What is Monolith's legacy to you?
So from my point of view, I think the legacy I hope for is that our games will be meaningful obviously to end gamers, but also to the industry, that we are able to kind of, help push the industry forward. And a lot of people talk about this, but it's really true. I think that the industry still is you get the stereotype of the gamer, which is somehow lesser than anybody else, relative to other art forms. And I think that video games as a serious art form is important to me. And I think that, to people that play games, I think you understand that it's just as viable an art form as books or movies or TV or anything else, music. So I just hope that we can be part of pushing it to a place where no one questions it as a legitimate art form at the same level as other kinds of entertainment. So that's my own personal hope.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. I just want to keep. I mean, it's been 23 years, like 16 games, some of which I'm super proud of. And what's nice is that I never really thought in my career that every game I made I'd be more proud of than the last game. And so I just want to keep doing that. Like, and I've been able to do it. And so if I can keep doing Michael and I drive in the morning sometimes together. We commute in, and sometimes we talk about like, well, what does retirement mean? Yeah, I'm kicking the door of 50, right? Like, what does retirement mean? And retirement to me is like, well, I just want to keep making games. Like, I'd love to keep making games here until I got to the point where it's like, I'm now a detriment to this team as opposed to a value add to this team.
Old man Allen.
People are like cleaning the gruel off because they fed me and it's like dripping down.
And so we got to change your diaper.
I'll probably have to leave. Yeah, when the depends are being, I can no longer put on my own pants.
Then they call you OMA.
Yeah, old man Allen.
Wet MA.
Am I on it? Yeah. What?
Wet MA.
WMA, it's the new one.
But like this idea that if I can keep making things that I am more proud of than the last thing, and that they're better and better, like that's like in 10 years, that's what I want to see. I want to look back and say, all right, those last few games were the best. And 20 years ago, I wouldn't even have thought that. I would have been like, we peaked at Shogo, or I peaked at Condemned, or I peaked at Condemned 2, or I peaked at Shadow, or I peaked at Shadow of War. And it's like, no, every single one of them has been better, and I want to keep doing that. Is that cool? Can I keep doing that?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Sweet.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Wait. Let me check your depends. Yeah. They're still dry.
My shoe is soaked.
I'm sorry.
Bryan, how about you, man?
I don't know. These guys, like, I mean, that's really good stuff. And I feel like, being here this long, that I was doing the same thing. I was just talking to my wife about, could you actually retire out of this? And I feel like before, it seemed like back in the day, it was just like smaller companies. And then I want to ask, like, what is it like? What is it, when I was just thinking about it, like, what is it like do people, from games, do they end up like killing themselves? Do they go crazy? Can they do this? And my wife's like, well, you guys are it. You guys are the ones that are like,
you guys are the old ones.
You guys are the ones that can like tell these stories. And I was like, I want to see Monolith. I mean, it's hitting 25. There's not many companies around, and being here, and you could see there's a lot of us here. It's like Monolith is badass, and there's like a lot of people that I love working with these guys.
So what you're saying is we're like a retirement community.
Yeah, like
that's what we're gonna be, a retirement community.
I want speakers on our walkers. I want
spinners on our. But you know what's funny you say it, because like I have friends outside who are like, oh yeah, like I thought that there weren't any old people in video game studios, and I'm like, well, now there are. I don't even know, but not like old.
You haven't been at Monolith,
right? No, but it's Generation X is like, we have started to push up. Now we were I think the video game generation. I know there were boomers before us. But
when I started at Monolith, just as an old person thing, the oldest person was Hendrickson. And he's old, and he wasn't 30 yet.
Yeah,
like I was 24, and I was older than the average age.
I was 27, and I was one of the older ones. Yep. Like I remember thinking, like, oh, these guys are kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, they are kids.
Yeah. And now those same kids are actually kids.
Yeah. So I hope we've got another 25 years to like get that younger generation to be right here and say the same thing, where it's like, as we like, hey kids, get off our freaking lawn. We're like,
have you done the math on your age plus 25? It's not pretty.
Yeah, it's not at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll make it, Bryan.
I just hope they can.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. That's pretty. It's pretty damn ugly.
Well, I mean, that is kind of the key to a lot of what we're saying is we want Monolith to be here long after we're gone.
Oh.
And it to be this thing where when people go back through time and they say, wow, Monolith, like that,
I'd love to be Garret and those guys and be like, at the 50th.
Holy shit.
Holy crap,
Yeah.
you guys are still doing it.
Yeah.
And somebody like, I don't know, some like Chelsea or somebody like who we hired, like, and she's like driving, you know, like saying, you've been here the whole time. And that's fucking crazy. You know, I'd love to be that. Or I'll be the dude in my chair where they're changing.
Get out of the way, Pops.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Every once in a while. Every once in a while, you know, maybe there'll be a, you know, game developer magazine of some kind out in the lobby, and I'll thumb through it, and I'll be, you know, patting some studio on the back for, you know, launching some title, and they might, you know, they might play the lip service type thing of saying, oh, you know, it's like, oh, my, you know, it's, you know, my team never settles for second best. And, you know, what I love about this place is that, or what I'm hoping this place will be also just considered in the future is that, you know, we didn't even settle for number one. We wanted to actually change the game with everything that we made. We actually wanted to actually change the entire rules and the type, you know, it's like, I didn't even know you could do that. Not, this is flavor of the month, congratulations, here's your trophy. But like literally, I did not know a game could do this. And if we continue to strive for that and be able to both look back and look forward on that type of thing, that's what I want the most for the company. And I think that the team deserves it. I mean, this is a team that's built up you know, an incredible relationship of trust and, you know, prioritizing and, you know, problem solving and making sure things are as functional as possible in what is generally, you know, on some way you have to have a delusional mindset in order to do this. And you've probably gone through enough conversations previous to this today that kind of say, yeah, we have to kind of put ourselves in kind of this, you know, this kind of like, wow, yeah, we didn't even plan for this, but here it is. And let's, you know, let's run and let's go for it. But you know, I'm hoping that the end results of what we do continue to have that impact on the world. And I just love making music for a gaming audience. And I love that there's been a place I could go consistently where I could do that, because I think a gaming audience is an audience that is literally actively solving problems and feeling powerful. And if I can make music that doesn't say like I'm smart, but music that says you're smart, then I am making, you know, the best music that I can. It's always what I wanted to do. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That was actually really awesome.
That's awesome.
Stuck the fucking lid. That is really, really super awesome. Last thing is that Shiny Dog says, tell the team Colin says hi and congrats on 25 years. Well, if Colin wants to disclose, Colin, if it's more, then he says hi.
Hi, Colin.
and then this has got to be a quick. But I know Makuta is one of our AVP2 fans. It's been around forever. Who approved introducing Alien Queen in AVP2's multiplayer? Anyone who approved? Is it just a thing like you did? It was cool.
Just blame the publisher if you don't like it.
Yeah.
And if you love it, it was me.
Right.
Let's blame Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Sure. It was Hendrickson.
It's Nathan Hendrickson.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna wrap up here. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in to watch this. The VOD's going to be on YouTube as well. Tell your friends if they missed it and they want to see it again, for sure. We'll do that. I wanted to also thank our moderators today: Tiger Stripe, Hazed, Monolithic Truth, Gimli, Son of Gloin. Thank you so much for covering for us. It was a lot, and I really appreciate that. If you would like to continue the conversation, we have our official Discord. The link is actually right there on our page, and I believe if we still have some mods, I think we did a Woodstock jam for so long. Maybe they not around, but if you could put that link into the chat, yeah, there we go. That would be really cool. So thank you very much. Continue the conversation with us on our Discord. Otherwise, thanks for being here for it, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mark. It was good.
Monolith!